we have a new manager. Mauricio Pochettino is officially confirmed as the new Chelsea manager. It's a 2-year contract with the option of a further year. Answer me that before we go any further, Mr. Jordan. Why is it that when he's offering out contracts out, bullying the rest of them, Mudryk, 8 years or 10 years or whatever the heck it is, massively long deals, yet for Poch, a 2-year deal?
Maybe that's what Pochettino wanted.
I mean, Graham Potter was a 5-year deal, if memory serves me right.
Yep. But maybe that's what Pochettino wanted. I mean, 2 years with an option for a third, I don't know whose option it's on the side of, but it feels about right with modern day management and the expectations.
Why do you want a shorter contract?
Because it gives them an opportunity to have fleet of footness, to be able to come out of a contract if they don't particularly enjoy working for Chelsea after 2 years. These managers, why did Antonio Conte want 18 months? Because the dynamics.
Well, he didn't want Tottenham, but Pochettino wants Chelsea.
Well, he did want Tottenham because he went there, but he wanted Tottenham on his terms, and Pochettino wants Chelsea, I suspect, on his terms too. So there's a balancing act to be had. I mean, I would have assumed that it was going to be a 3-year contract from the outset.
Yeah.
So it probably is in all but guise, because ultimately the option probably can be pick upable quite easily. So let's just say it's a 3-year contract. And in that time, it gives everybody a proper opportunity to have built a side, to have gone in the right direction. What it does is it gives everybody opportunity to make sure that he's given a decent amount of time to make a good fist of it, and not too much time that if he doesn't, you've got a problem with getting rid of him because it costs a lot of money to get him out the door. So I think that's probably the thinking.
So in he comes, and when you look at it, I mean, almost unbelievably, who would have thought it? Chelsea finished off the season, goodbye everybody, we're away for the summer, in 12th position. They won 11 matches in 38 games played. So even, I would have thought, any man in the street this morning you would approach would say, yeah, I could improve on that. So Pochettino will no doubt be asked improving it, but don't just improving it big time. Is this the best or the worst job in football to be walking into at this time? I would suggest it's probably about the best.
I think so. I think it's a remarkable job. I mean, you've got a remarkable amount of opportunity. You've got a squad of players that have got significant talent that have massively underachieved because they've been mismanaged and allowed to develop an attitude which is not in keeping with the way that Chelsea should want to excel on the pitch. Everybody's had their moment in the sun in terms of learning things and adjusting to the nature of a new ownership. So that's now had its time. So I think he walks in, if he can get them to buy a centre forward, which inevitably he will be able to do, I suspect, then they're in a situation where it's like, oh, hang on a second, let's tell everybody we've got a Mini in there, when really they've got a Ferrari. They've got a Ferrari in there. And if Pochettino can't make this work, it's interesting, Pochettino comes out of PSG with one of the worst records that PSG have had as a manager for the last 10, 11 years. You know, he comes out with the lowest win record, and people talk about Pochettino in a certain light. He did a great job at Tottenham for periods of time, but they never won anything. And here comes the observation that I repeatedly make, that he will not win the league with Chelsea. He'll get them better. But with due respect, I think most people would have got them better besides the people that they had in there recently.
Well, they don't seem to go for winners, do they? The American ownership. In came Potter, but he hadn't won anything. In comes Poch. He hasn't won anything.
Well, he's workable. With their experiences, they've tried to bring in Potter because they thought he was a progressive manager and thought that he would work within the framework of their management ideas and build, and they'd be able to work with him. Because I can tell you, these guys are not easy to work with. Everybody thinks that they're the heroes and they're the solutions to all the problems, managers, but half the time they're the bleeding creators of the problems. And with that in mind, you have to find someone that you can work with. Now, Pochettino, to my mind, put aside that ridiculous scenario where he's gazing at crystals in a bowl to get good spirits and all that sort of stuff, he got disappeared of his own backside with him when he was at Tottenham, is one of those guys that can work with people. I think he's more easier to work with. And I think if Bowley has sat with these guys, given his experiences of the challenges he had with Tuchel and his attitude, which is probably manifesting itself again in Bayern Munich, because there's rumours going on about how long he's going to last there.
Yeah.
Martin Keown. And so with that in mind, Pochettino gives Bowley a feel that he's been close to winning in previous incarnations. He's won something at PSG, which, quite frankly, my Aunt Matilda could win something with.
How is she?
Well, she died 20 years ago, so that shows you how easy it is to win with PSG.
I'm sorry about that.
But the point is that he brings a feeling that Bowley will be able to work with this fella. And I think that's the part that makes sense.
Yeah.
And the other part about making them contenders, he will categorically achieve it. But if we're going down the we're not screwing it about route, right, screwing about route, and we're going to win, then I maintain that Pochettino is not the answer to the question. But we will see.
Do you agree with Chelsea's statement that Poch is the exceptional candidate? his ethos, tactical approach and commitment to development all made him the, quotes, exceptional candidate.
Well, that's assuming we know who else has been in the mix, right? We know that Nagelsmann might have been in the mix, but we also know that he comes with a series of baggage. He's 35 years of age. He's had his challenges in the German media with the way he operates. It's clear that he's had issues with the German hierarchy inside Bayern Munich with Oliver Kahn that created a situation that makes him perhaps more difficult to work with.
You okay?
Yeah, sorry, mate. And so with that in mind, I think Pochettino ticks a load of boxes.
Yeah.
He's been managing big-time players. Because of the nature of his personality, you can see he's quite a easy on the ear, easy on the eye sort of fella. There's nothing particularly spiky or controversial about him. So when he sat with Bowley, who's probably looking at the last 12 months thinking, how much worse could I have possibly made this? How much more ridicule have I allowed myself to enter into? How many decisions have I got wrong in footballing terms, but with the right reasons for doing them, but in the wrong footballing outcomes?
Yeah.
And then you sit with Pochettino and you look at it and go, well, he to me, I think he's a very sensible appointment, and I can see why Bowley's made it.
You think he's a very sensible appointment?
No, I'm saying what Bowley would be thinking.
Do you?
I think it's okay. I'm not a fully paid up member of the Pochettino fan club. I don't worship at that particular pedestal and suggest that he's a wonderful manager. I think he's a good manager. I think he'll do a decent job for Chelsea. But again, the question has to be asked, what is a decent job? It was once upon a time a decent job at Chelsea was absolutely needing to win the big baubles. Now, if we're saying that a decent job at Chelsea looks like competing in the Champions League every single year for the next 5 years, then I don't think that was the original blueprint that Chelsea had and shouldn't be the blueprint that Bowley wants. And if you're going to spend £600 million on players, you shouldn't categorically want it.
Players adore Pochettino. So they're on side with him and he's on side with them. So
Well,
you're not going to have a fallout. As in, at no time are you going to hear they're not playing for him.
Well, they
will play for him. And also, he got Tottenham to a Champions League final, albeit, and I know we're sick of saying they didn't win it, but it was hardly a classic final, but they didn't win it.
That's
He
fine.
got them there.
And
so what can he do with the resources given to him at Chelsea?
And that's fine. Probably the same thing.
Yeah.
Because you've still got to manage different personalities, and he got them there, and it takes big boys to make big boys decisions. So what he does is in the Champions League final, he takes the form player out, Moura, because he's got to manage Kane. Whereas Kane should have been on the bench and Moura should have been playing in that Champions League final because that was a decision that he had to make. He had to be ruthless.
But as you would say, if my aunt was my uncle.
But that's what you pay the top guys for.
Yeah.
Because you don't need my aunt is my uncle, or if my aunt was a bus, she'd have wheels on her. You don't need that, right? You just need to have somebody that knows what to do at that moment. And you cannot. It's a gene. You cannot create it in somebody. They either have that ability to be able to decide what Mancini in the European Championship final knows what to do to outwit the unwitting Gareth Southgate.
Yeah.
Right? And in this instance, Pochettino gets you to a certain point. He'll get you close. He'll get you the whiff of it.
So what is he, an Argentinian Southgate? Is that what you're saying to me?
No. I'm just using Southgate as an example, concerning how managers think through the solutions.
How much will Daniel Levy hate it if Pochettino succeeds at Chelsea?
As much as any Tottenham,
he'll hurt him, won't it?
As much as any Tottenham manager will dislike the fact that Chelsea will supersede what they're doing, because that's what happens. If Daniel had wanted Pochettino back, and we can debate the vagaries and peculiarities of whether that's the right or wrong decision, he'd have got him back.
What, you think? That simple? Well, maybe Poch wouldn't have wanted to go back.
Well, according to the media, Pochettino wanted to go back to Tottenham.
And you believe everything you read in the media?
Well, for the purpose of this conversation, it suits my argument. So in that instance, right, if they wanted him back, if they wanted him back, they could have got him back. But I'm pretty sure that Daniel didn't want him back. So there you go, Paul Moscow and Daniel Levy.
All right. Pochettino is in at Chelsea. It is a 2-year deal. I wonder what Chelsea fans think of that. I mean, is it the best or worst job in football to be walking into at this time? Incidentally, it's 1 year to the day since the sale of Chelsea to Todd Bowley's consortium.
Time goes fast, doesn't it?
Can you believe that?
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.